Well, good morning. Welcome to the currently being revamped bonsai nursery here at the Huntington, where we're about to do a demonstration of a large reconfiguring of some old bonsai here. So what I have here are some feminas that were part of a gift of two separate plantings. They were kind of just big trees stuck in large pots. There wasn't a whole lot of real good design, and we had to take the plantings apart because of bad soil. And as we've been regrowing them, what's happened is I've started noticing certain harmonies and flows and lines and stuff, and so decided to exercise my ego here and make a brand new planting of these trees. And so there were originally 11 in the two groves, and I selected 7 for the final planting. The remaining 4 will go on the auction block at our Bonsai-A-Thon on April 2nd and 3rd, rescheduled this year to accommodate COVID restrictions. But yeah, we are having an event on April 2nd and 3rd, so when you see this on the 26th, think plan for coming back a little bit later. So these are the trees, and if you come and look a little bit over here, you'll see my crew is preparing my pot. The pot was originally a large suibon, and one of my volunteers, Tony here, has a diamond hole cutter, and we were able to come and cut 6 drainage holes for this. And then the tufa is stuff that I had collected from the tufa beds, in some cases decades ago, and just saved. And when this arrangement came together, I thought it would be a good time to use it. So the idea here is we're going to create a coastal scene. The idea that I kind of felt for these trees, that they could represent the pines you'd see on the Japanese coast. And so that's the whole inspiration behind this. So we've got our rocks generally placed. We've got our tie-down wires. I prepared the pot by gluing and wiring hardware cloth down to the bottom of the pot, so we have places we can anchor our trees. So what we've got now, next step, is we've got muck. So what we'll do is we'll start building our rocks. And let's pull this in here if we could, and I want to start on this end. So this muck, it's adobe mud and Canadian peat, and everything was sifted to get all the coarse stuff out, and it makes for a nice stiff cookie dough type of a texture. So what we want to do, I've had my rock soaking for a couple days. That was an old trick, Melba Tucker, who did a lot of psyches. She used to soak her tufa in water with a little bit of fish emulsion. So what I did is I put water with a little bit of our liquid fertilizer in this. So these guys actually have a little nutrient they'll be able to deliver. So now.
And your muck recipe one more time?
It's equal parts adobe clay from the land, and Canadian peat. I don't use like New Zealand sphagnum because I feel the fibers are way too coarse, and so I use Canadian peat because it really is fine. Now, one of the nice things about that too is when you put moss on, the Canadian peat is very acidic, and so what it does is it creates a really nice environment. The high organic of the clay, the high acidity of the peat makes for very healthy moss. So again, what we're doing, I don't want to hide all the overhangs, because that's part of what gives this the feeling of a seacoast, is because you're going to see all these caves and all these places that are undercut from hopefully what will be believable as wave action.
So Ted, what's going through your head when you're placing these rocks?
Well, I'm trying to emphasize, on a coastal scene, you want to see a lot of in and out, you know, like little channels and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to do is create, like I've got a nice overhang here. So again, that'll look like a little, you know, coastal, you know, washout. And so I want to make sure from the front that I'm looking at that, again, we've got ins and outs. Then I can start like here, for example, I can take another stone and set it and start building secondary layers once this is stable. This will all be covered with a gravel representing water, again like an ocean. So I picked some gray chipped granite for that. Yeah, now we have to. So let's talk about the trees a few minutes here. This I've generally got them laid out in the arrangement that I would like. I'd gotten these and I've played with them over the course of the week. And so again, we went from 11 trees in the 2 plantings, but we're just using 7 here. It's going to be a right to left planting, and the swooping branches and the trunk movements really are what kind of drew me as a potential for a group. So we're going to start taking the trees out of their containers, start taking the soil off, and then we'll be able to start getting them and tying them down in the pots. While we tie individual trees down, we're probably going to have to do some things for anchoring. For example, we probably are going to have to drill some screws or make some holes in the bases of our trees and run wires through so we have something to tie down to. So yeah, we'll start working our trees at the moment.
So Ted, what are you doing currently?
Okay, right now I'm starting to put a bed of soil down in here. So this is our bonsai soil, and I just want to get the wire covered. And as we're taking our trees apart, this soil doesn't, you know, really bind hard together. So it's kind of just falling apart. It's essentially the same soil that we used before. Oh, thank you, Don.
And that's going on the inside of that lip, correct?
Yes, because that's where all our trees will be planted, is in this pocket area. And again, we have some secondary stones too that as we start getting soil in, we'll start building a little height in a couple different spots. In a planting like this, you always want your back of your arrangement to be higher than the first. You want the land to kind of slope forward because it creates negative space or space for the eye to enter the composition. If you slope off to the back, it's almost the same effect as if you were leaning a tree backwards in a pot. It would start to feel like it's falling out backwards. So in this case, we'll build up a little bit more height on the back just to make sure we keep that nice forward contour. We're about midway through our planting here, Tom. We've got over half the trees in. I'm waiting for a little block to wedge under this guy, and we've got 2 more trees to place. And then what we'll do is we'll work soil in, and then we'll continue building up our stone and finish off ultimately with some moss. So this will look pretty dressed when it's all done.
Any difficulties so far? Any challenges?
You know, as I knew it would be, the biggest challenge is when you take these apart, you always lose some of that precise positioning and spacing, so it becomes almost a brand new puzzle to kind of work things out. But ultimately, I had a sense how they will fit together. We did have to take one major branch off, but I don't think when all is said and done you'll miss it. Probably can't even tell where it is right now. But yeah, we're getting really close here.
Awesome.
There you go.
You want soil or muck?
We need
What's going through your thought process?
more muck?
muck right behind the stone and start.
I'm adding a little bit more height in the back, just so we have this a natural slope forward. Again, I don't want to make things look like they'd be potentially falling out the back or anything. So this just, it adds a little more dimension, but again, it really emphasizes. So like right in here, this to me is some of the most beautiful rock. And so what I really want to do is create this focal point where this just draws you right in. You've got this nice gentle slope going up, but then you've got, if you notice the rocks as they're poking out of the soil in the back, in some way they almost could represent like a distant mountain range, you know, far and you know, quarter, half mile, mile away. And so again, I want to put all the focal point of all the attractive stuff here, but I want a backdrop that keeps your eye within the composition then too.
More muck?
All right.
Anytime.
Okay, so this is our coastal scene planting with the Matson trees, and 7 trees down from 2 plantings with 11 trees total. And it's, like I say, it's a coastal scene. So the coastline is really represented by all the ins and outs, the caves, the overhangs that indicate where wave action has eroded stones and created the interesting contours. There's a lot of pits, a lot of, again, to really show the ruggedness. And then the trees, where I saw these trees really fitting this scene is, to me, this could represent a coastal scene in Japan with some of their pines, the way they come up at great angles and have, you know, swooping branches and things like that. So that was kind of the inspiration for this. And yeah, hopefully it'll be around here for a long time.